People are still coming. We're going to give it a few seconds. I don't want to miss the start. I like encouraging. I could have asked, what is your structure? What do you think your culture looks like now? I could have asked, what do you think is the normal or average or standard culture in classrooms in America? But I'd rather look forward and go, what are you shooting for? So let me just pop that up there and we'll leave it here. We'll just wait a few more seconds as we've got some more folks coming in. It is good to have you here in July. I don't know when you're all starting school, but I'm a classroom teacher in Oklahoma now. Started in California, went to Colorado. Now I live in Ada, Oklahoma, and we start Monday the 3rd for professional development stuff, and then I have kids on the 12th of August, which is still insane to me to start that early. But good to be able to be back. I like the beginning of school, and part of the reason I like the beginning of school is I get to do this kind of stuff. So it looks like nobody's come in for just the last few seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and start. If you made the first session, you know about the Q&A and the closed captioning. I have with me Abby Boyce from TCI, who's going to handle the chat duties. And I'm Loyal Frazier, and I will handle the running and making things happen. So I am about to start. This is painful for me, so forgive me if I choke on it a little bit. My 37th year in the classroom, taught high school in California and Colorado, a little bit in Oklahoma. I'm now dual certified, so I'm in demand for social studies and math. So a junior high gobbled me up, and I'm teaching 7th grade now for the first time. So last year was my first year doing that. And the numbers 6, 7 took on a whole new meaning for me. And I'm sure we could fill the chat with that about everybody else, but we'll just leave that alone. I have learned over the years that building the culture in my classroom is very important. If I don't build it, they will build it. It's like training dogs. If I don't train my dog will train me. And so I want a culture that is existent in all of my classes. I don't want 6 different cultures in there. I'll be schizophrenic by the end of the year. And if I don't get the beginning right, it's like a salmon swimming upstream. And so getting it right is important to me. So what we're going to cover today, very briefly, I originally wrote this as a 6-hour professional development course done in 50 minutes. So whoop, here we go, buckle up. But why build a positive culture? Why it's important? A framework to help people get started. And I have found that this is extremely helpful for new teachers, but I've had people teaching 10 and 15 years who've said that they just something never really quite felt right, and this helped them. And that's why this is my 3rd year in a row doing this at the summit. And then I'm going to give you a bunch of ways to build culture. I'm going to give you 10 documents you're going to get on a Google Drive, although there's more ideas than those 10 documents. And I'm going to give you my email address at the end. And I love to work throughout the year with culture, building culture, rescuing culture, whatever that takes. So this is kind of fast and furious. I'm going to start with a little bit of what we know to be true from data. I'm not going to bore you with too much data, but we know that each classroom or class period, whatever your situation is, develops its own culture and feel. And if you've been in other people's classrooms or someone has been into your classroom, I'm sure that you've heard the phrase, "Oh, it feels so," and then fill in the blank after that. And that's what we're after here, but to be able to quantify it a little bit. And so, like a dog that's been trained or not been trained, your class is going to run it, and it'll be a self-sustaining system and very hard to break. And even though I know all of this, I have still missed the mark occasionally and had to backtrack, and I don't like to do that. So this has helped me just sort of structure things in a way that really works for me. So a guy named Alan November does a lot of research on this, and he says we must be very intentional about the atmosphere we wish to create. It doesn't happen, well, it does occasionally happen by sort of accident, depending on the group of young people that may be in your classroom. But for the most part, we have to very systematically set up how we want this to work and pick a number of days, hours, minutes where we're going to set this up. I chose 5. 5 works really, really well for me. If I need to do it with less, I can. But you don't get culture after the first day. And so we want to be very, very intentional. And a positive culture will improve a teacher's abilities to teach soft skills in the classroom. This came out of the University of Missouri, and improve student learning. There is mounds of data that shows the culture in your room affects the learning that happens with the kids. And if we want to go higher up on Bloom's taxonomy, then we need the culture that's going to allow us to do that. And if I can say this, I don't know if you're new to TCI, been doing TCI forever, but it's a little different in that there's a lot of pairs and threes inside the classroom. Kids have to be able to work well together, both as a whole group and in small groups, and you have to set it up to where that's going to work for you, and that's where the culture building really comes in. So, without further ado, we're going to get started with looking at the number one reason kids misbehave. If you think you know the answer and want to throw it in the chat, Abby will look at that and we'll see if anybody's got it right. But there's a number of reasons why kids misbehave, but there's one that stands out in both data and just sort of anecdotal look at things. Idle hands, you're close on that. The word that is used throughout, this is good. Somebody just put that one in there. I saw it really quickly. Boredom. Boredom is the number one reason for misbehavior. We also know that 90% of discipline problems are from the males of the species. And so bored young boys are a killer for your classroom. And so really one of the things that can be done right off the bat is to make sure that the classroom is very engaging. And I noticed in the beginning, a whole lot of you put in there that you wanted an engaging classroom. And that's what we want a TCI classroom to be in the first place, hands-on and engaging. Other reasons, they don't understand the rules, whatever those may be, the norms, however you want to phrase that. Sometimes, and this is true in seventh grade a lot, they want to test authority. And there are some times where people are starting to assert their independence. But if we've set this up very well, we can absorb all of those things and be able to still continue, much like a family has to, the behavior and the culture that we've got inside the classroom. And I love the word culture for the classroom, which is why I put it in the title of everything. So understand that's just a very little bit. I started this out a whole lot of years ago reading the Wong book that he and his wife put together, which was really fantastic. To get me started, but it was very elementary, and I was teaching high school, and I had to change some things. So I did. So here's the start, and you get to hopefully participate as much as we can on a Zoom with the chat. So we're going to create something that I have called OSBs, or observable student behaviors. Like a SMART goal, they have to be measurable. And I have people in and out of my classroom a lot. And I have a piece of paper that I have made that has my 5, and then nothing magic about the number 5, but my 5 observable student behaviors that when somebody comes into my classroom, I want them to watch the students, not me, the students. And I want them to measure what's going on in my classroom and be able to give me feedback on what they've seen, whether they're in there for 10 minutes or an entire class period, whether it's a formal evaluation or just a pop in by the assistant principal. And so I have 5, and I'm going to share them with you in a moment. But if you have something that you would like a visitor, and I'll even say this, after the 3rd week of school, after you've got rolling, after your culture is set, 3rd week in school is test week. That's when kids they're back at school. It's not new anymore. They've seen all their friends. They've worn all their new clothes, all of that kind of stuff. And that this is when, if a kid is going to test, this is when that kid is likely to test. So after you've dealt with all of that, you're in, October. Somebody walks in. What do you want them to see? Okay. So I see working together and on task, knowing the expectations with minimal redirection. That's key. I really like that. So you're putting some really neat stuff in there, and I love it. And so I'm going to share my 5, and I changed one, and that's going to go back to the person who was talking about thinking a little while ago. And you can let me know what you think of these. I revisit them every single year, and I've changed one. So one of them I don't actually have any feedback on it yet, really. But I want people to see in my classroom 100% of the students actively involved 100% of the time. And I know a lot of these are written with that 80% thing. And if I've got a class of 30 kids, 20% of those kids is 6 kids off task. I don't want that. I'm shooting for everybody. So I want to know, and that way they're looking if I need to redirect a kid or go get a kid involved by proximity, moving around the room, whatever it is to get them back involved, that they see that I'm doing that. So that's my first one. These are not in order. They're just five. I suppose I could put them in an order. I just never have. And so I want a cooperative, helpful environment. I'd like them to look for examples of that as they're seeing. Remember, I want these to be measurable. There's no way I can create a culture in my classroom until I know what I want that culture to be. That's what led me to come up with these OSBs. I want them to see the students working, me helping, but I'm obviously in charge. Really, the easy way to say it is the students are working harder than I am. I have had days where I've gone home absolutely exhausted because I worked really hard for 6 straight hours and my kids sat for 6 straight hours, and that's not what I want. So I want them to see the students actively involved basically in their own education. That's what I'd like to see. This is the new one for me, and I may change the phrasing once I get going into August the 12th, but evidence of students actually thinking, not just copying something down, not just rote memorization, but they're actually puzzling something out in their brain. That's what I want people to be able to see. So they could be on task by doing a worksheet, but that's not showing really thinking for me. It's not necessarily cooperative. It's not necessarily hard work. Maybe they're actively involved with what I'm having them do. So I might get some of these, but I'm going for all five. And my fifth one is I would like it to be highly participatory. I should probably put a number on that, but depending on what I'm doing when that person pops in, it may be an all-class discussion, and they may see 5 kids participate in that, or it may be something where all of the kids are participating. So I just want them, whatever the situation is, to know that my kids are participating. Those are the 5 things that I want you to see. You pop into my classroom, announced, unannounced, whatever it is, I don't care. That's what I want going on in my classroom every single time, whether it's my history class or my math class. It's the same 5 things for me. Okay, so those are my 5. And again, nothing magic about the number 5, and it doesn't have to be my 5. Those 5 lead me to the culture that I want in my classroom. And if I had to give it phrases, I would say highly engaged, highly participatory, and evidence of thinking. And if I say those things, that's what I want Fraser's classroom to be. Okay. And so if you like any of those, if you want to write any of those down, if you want to steal any of those, I don't think we can do what we want to do unless we start with the end in mind, which is maybe some data that you've heard before, and I buy into that. I want to know where I'm going, and then I want to design a pathway and how to get there. This is my pathway and how to get there. And now I'm going to fill in the blanks. Mary, I love it. I love thieves. My very first mentor teacher, I asked him can I steal that and use it in my classroom? He said, no, I spent a lot of years developing that. Do it on your own. I never went back to him again, as you could probably understand. And I am not that way. We get better when we are involved with each other. And that's why I'm going to give you my email address in case this is an ongoing conversation you want to have. So here is my not new 3 R's. I didn't make this up. I may have changed the order from some other ways I've read it, but this is the way I go about getting what I want to get in the first 5 days. I'm going to build some relationships. I'm going to break that down into two pieces. I'm going to build relevance because in both history and math, they are the 2 most hated classes by kids in middle school and high school, every single year in every poll I've ever seen. And they don't see any reason for it. So I've got to build some reason. This is the way I build reasoning in my social studies classroom. And then I'm going to get to rigor, the actual definition of rigor, which is not more work. I won't cover rigor a whole bunch. But I have to do the other 2 to get to the rigor. Okay, that's the part I got to kind of leave out a little bit on this particular one. So for me, I'm going to work on relationship building for approximately 3.5 days. I'm going to build a relationship in my class by letting them get to know me first. I cannot expect kids to share with me, be open with me, be transparent with me if I am not willing to share some of myself. How far you go on that is up to you. I am massively transparent, so they're going to know stuff about me, and I don't mind that they know stuff about me. I think it helps me in the culture I'm building in my classroom. And then we're going to get to know them in a day to a day and a half. So there's a little overlap there as I'm also introducing relevance. That's the way we're going to move forward with this. So day one, my classroom, which this year we're starting on a Wednesday, but this is set up to start on a Monday just for ease. Doesn't really make any difference at all. But I greet my students at the door every single day and say goodbye to them at the door every single day. I read something once that I believe that said it was predominantly for high school students that they had 3 positive interactions with an adult per day on average. 3. That includes their parents. And well, I'm going to give them 2 of those 3 right off the bat. And so we do whatever handshake we do. I ask them how they broke their foot, say something about the game I went to the night before, whatever it is. And I think that's really important. Not to mention, I'm keeping an eye on the hallway, which my administration really likes. My very first day, I introduce myself and my room. I take roll because I have to. It takes me a lot of time in the first day because I want to know every kid's name by Friday for me. And then I have a little activity that I'm going to run. So I'm going to take you through all 4 of those things right now. And my activity is called How to Be Successful in School. Okay. So when I greet kids at the door, I really already explained that. I won't go into that. I'll save time. I have a PowerPoint thing for myself and my family. I didn't put it on here because of time, because I can get really rolling on it. But in a nutshell, started in California, went to Colorado. I'm now in Ada, Oklahoma. That was to put family together. I married my wife in California. She was adopted. I had 2 stepkids the moment I married her. Then we adopted a child. Then we had a biological kid. Then my stepdaughter married a guy in Oklahoma. They wanted a big family, couldn't do it. They adopted 6 kids, a sibling set of 4 and a sibling set of 2. Daughter lost weight due to the fixing a thyroid problem, and they had another kid. And my oldest adopted daughter has now had a kid. And if you're keeping track and you're not dual certified in math, I'll help you. That's 8 grandkids, 6 kids. There's 17 of us now here in Oklahoma, and I have pictures and visuals of them, of my dogs. I ride Sea-Doos a lot, and I'm just letting them know some things about me very quickly, but letting them know. And the number of adoption stories I run across and make connections with kids on day one is insane. And so anything that I think is going to click with kids, if I can click with every one of them, just one little moment, and you'll see how I end the class in a moment, it's a big deal. When I take roll, I share my name. It's kind of a weird name. Loyal, I read their name. I want to know what they want to be called. I've got little stories about a guy named Clint who wanted to be Joe, and then he became Joe to everybody, including his future wife, and all these kinds of stories. It's a chance for me to tell stories, which are very relevant in a history classroom anyway. And so I introduce my room. I take them around. I've got a little Nerf basketball hoop in there. I've got a little refrigerator door on the wall so that if kids do work, I put it on the fridge like we used to do when we went home. All the stuff in my room so they understand where they can go, where they can't go, and all those things. I don't know how much time it takes. Half a class period, maybe 20 minutes to do all of that stuff for me. And then I run this activity. I made it up. It's called How to Be Successful in School. It'll be in the Google, what is that thing, Drive. And Abby, you can share that anytime and maybe once again later on. But there's 10 documents that are going to be in this thing that I'm going to reference that you can have if you like. So I put this in there by themselves. They'll just go through here and number 1 to 16. I honestly don't care if it's just 1, 2, 3, and number 16. There's a couple of them that vie for number 16. Let's see, where is it? Number 14 is cheat as much as you can, and number 7 is fall asleep in class. And so this is just a way for them to make a little list here. Then I let them get into groups of 3 or 4 on their own. I haven't trained them how to do anything. It's a train wreck when they do it. I don't care. And they talk about it in a group. And I actually have another column for them there. And as a group, they have to decide, what do you think's the top three most important things to be successful in this class? And what's number 16? I take all their answers and then I share whatever I decide I want to share about what is important to be successful. So I tend to share some things like, paying attention to detail, showing up every day, because if you've taught for a while, you know, post-COVID absences have gone up a huge amount, actually. But I'm also really big on have a positive attitude. And then I ask them, can you be successful cheating? And some savvy kids will say, yeah, you can be successful cheating if your success is get a certain grade or get the work done. Neat conversation. I have as long a conversation as I can with this before class ends. And then I always end the first day in every period with this phrase. Oh, not that phrase. I tell them what supplies they need for Thursday. So for day four is when I want them to have all their supplies. And then I tell them this is going to be your favorite class, to which I always get a bunch of chuckles because they either hate math or they hate history, some of them coming in. But I'm going to tell them that, I'm going to foreshadow it, and then I'm going to go prove it. And the number of kids at the end of the year who say this to me, I love it when they do this. Do you remember telling us that this was going to be our favorite class? No, did I tell you that? Well, it was. And I love that they can tie the beginning to the end. And so, really a wonderful way. There's lots of other ways to do these kinds of things. I have several friends who do a thing called This Is My Life. They make a primary source packet with about 6 documents from their life. One of my friends is a twin. She's got a picture of her, and to the kids think her in the same picture. And so they find out she's a twin. And they're actually doing document analysis without even really knowing that's what they're doing. Scavenger hunt, Lost on the Moon or Lost at Sea, both of those documents are in the Google Drive. Something that's different than rules, textbook, and hey, you got to pass the test or you don't get out of middle school or whatever you're in. Something that's going to be different than what anybody else does, because that's what I want my class to be, is different than anybody else's class. So, and I send a little explanation thing to all the parents via whatever it is, email. We use School Success. It's called explaining some of this to them so they see how different it's going to be. And that's the end of day one. Okay. So, Abby, if anything pops up at any time you need to interrupt me, interrupt. I'm lousy at looking up at the chat. But if there's something from this day you like that you want to think you might implement, even if it's something that you came up with that's not something that I directly shared, throw it in the chat. We get better when we trade ideas with each other. So that's just day one. And it's fast and it's furious, and it doesn't matter what subject I'm teaching or how many different preps I have. Do I have kids store their phones? Oklahoma, I love this. Last year started a no phone policy. They can't have it bell to bell, and it is fabulous. I had fewer problems with phones last year than I've ever had before. I would take them if they were bringing them in the classroom. And my kids don't line up. I'm not anti-lineup. They know they can't wait by the door because it hurts my feelings, I tell them. So there you go. And yes, a scavenger hunt in a science classroom, I think it would be a must to do in a science classroom. So I appreciate the chats coming in. Day two, here we go. I greet them at the door. I take roll again because, again, I'm trying to learn their names. They don't have a seating chart yet. I'll get to that in day two or day three when they come in and they sit down. That's their seating chart. You can make one. I promise my kids I'm going to treat them like adults. Adults sit where they want until they prove they can't handle it. So that's just the way that I handle it. I'm going to do 2 things, 3x5 cards, an autograph icebreaker. Remember, most of this is introducing me, and I'm going to move on to them. So I go through these things one at a time. Most of them have a story behind them that I'm not going to bother sharing with you, but I want their name, what they want to be called. They have a 3x5 card in them, and they're numbered. That's right. This is how I'm making my seating chart. And so when they're done with this, I will make the seating chart at the end of the day today. And that way I'm going through all their cards, putting all their names down, getting them in my brain so I've got them. They tell me what city they're in, because we got a lot of little outlying cities in semi-rural Oklahoma here. I don't give them my phone number. We have a I don't know, is it a remind number or whatever it is I throw out there? I give my parents names, tell a story about the weird names in the Fraser family. I drive a school bus as well, so I tell them that. I'm too old to put my birthday on there, but I usually tell them my birthday is March 25th, the most important day in the history of the world, and see if any of them remember. They never do. I'm allergic to penicillin. That's got a story. But the key for me is their birthday so I can wish them a happy birthday and anything they need me to know. Do they struggle in reading? Were they adopted? Sometimes kids will tell me that. Just anything they want me to know, or they can just say, have a nice day. But I'm noticing that about Google Forms. That works too. This, I am not anti-technology, but I think I'll just speak for me personally. I went too far into technology and I'm backing off some. And so the more I can do hands-on stuff for me, the better. Plus, I'll see how many kids can't write at all. Seems like that's gotten worse too. Whoops, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. So when that's done, I collect those in my day two activity. And this is when I'm going to kind of segue into getting to know the kids as well as getting to know me. This is a TCI staple from way back, and my version of it is on the Google Drive. It's an autograph icebreaker. They go around and they sign different kids things of what's true for them. I have made this for me. I like Diet Coke. Sorry, total addiction. Um, Tigger, that's one of my favorite cartoon characters, and kids tend to love it, so I put that on there. I always choose in my example that I had braces, and I tell a story about braces and how horrible that was. Um, Edith, we're leaving one-to-one as well. I already left it, but our school's leaving it, and so we'll have carts, and I'm not going to use it very much. And that's just a personal, that has nothing to do with building culture, although I think digital is part of the culture, whether we want it to be or not. And so I want my culture to be a little less digital. This is fun, so I tell that story. I teach them how to shake hands because they don't know how. I share about me a little bit throughout this because when I check it at the end, who else likes Diet Coke? This is not all of them. There's like 35 things on there. I leave the state over the summer, so I find out who did that, who else had braces or has them right now. I get to know them, but they're getting to know me still as well. And that's a big key for me. And yeah, that conversation face to face matters. Remind them about the supplies, get out the door, move on to day three. Whoops, went fast, too fast. Oh, a couple other things. I'm sorry. Any icebreaker will really work for you. I just want it to be one that I could participate in. We have one that's on the drive called Multiple Intelligence Bingo. You could take a peek at that one. But if you've got a go-to that you love, I just need my icebreakers to matter and be usable. And you'll see one more of those for me here in I think it's day four. Question for the chat. If you've got a go-to icebreaker and you want to show off and share in the chat, go for it. There's lots of them that we can go ahead and do. Sorry, I got to check time because I know that, whoa. Abby, tell me what time we're out when you get a chance in the chat for me, okay? Day three, my favorite day of these days. I've got a day called The Game. We're going to do another TCI staple called the Desk Olympics. And then I'm going to give them Fraser's rules to live by, okay? Thank you, Abby. And so you'll see what these things are, but you may have noticed that I've not gone over classroom rules or norms yet. I purposefully do it this way because I believe that by seventh grade and certainly high school, kids know really how to behave. They may choose not to, they may test the waters, but they know how to behave. And I prove that to them by having nobody get really out of control in the first 2 days. That's a positive for me. So the game I learned from a seventh grade teacher a lot of years ago. All I need is a very soft foam ball. I actually had a very old school Nerf ball. If you remember the ones forever ago that were very soft and light. Somebody stole it last year. Seventh graders seem to be thieves. So I've got to replace it with something a little harder. But any soft ball, could be anything you really want it to be. And you need a place to keep score, a whiteboard, a large Post-it note, whatever. That's all you need. And then you give verbal directions. This is it. I'm going to give you the verbal directions. Here they go. I have to find a way to divide my class in half. I usually just take my arm and put it there, and this half against this half. I tell them that your team number one, and so they go, yay, and the other team, I say, so you're obviously team, and they'll go number two, and I'll say team A, and I make a little T chart with one and A on it, anything to be different in the beginning for me. And then I say, did I lose anybody yet? No, good. So then I give them the rules. I say, you're going to play this game, and this one's going to compete against A, and the winners are going to get some reward. It doesn't matter what it is. And we're going to use this ball right here to play the game for me to be able to keep score. Did I lose anybody? It's the third day of school. You might be tired now. I mean, did I lose anybody? And they'll say no. And then I just take the ball and I drop it and say go. And then I take out my pen and I stand by my T chart and I watch. And it's actually kind of hilarious because there's always sort of like this staring. Who's it going to be? Then a kid will get up and grab the ball and I'll give their side a point. Then the kid will pass the ball to somebody and I'll give them another point. And they'll pass to somebody and I won't give them a point. And then they'll throw it at me and they'll hit me and I'll take 10 points away. And then they're going to try stuff and I'm going to change the way I score and just completely and totally confuse them. That is the point of this, is to absolutely confuse them. It can go on as long as I want to, but it really doesn't take any more than 2 minutes for them to get frustrated. Some kids will just out and out quit and they'll tell you, I'm done. I don't know what's going on. I quit. That's good. I actually want that. I told you I have a little basketball hoop in my room. And so I will, if it's been about 2 minutes and a kid goes and makes a basket, that's it. They won the game. If a kid goes up right away and makes a basket, I'll take off 20 points. Because like by fourth period, somebody's going to talk and go, hey, all you got to do is make a basket. So I'll just change it up. And after a while, I'll just put the pen down and stand there with my hand out. Or I'll stare at my chair or whatever. Anything to get a kid to come and put the ball where I want them to put the ball. Then they win. I'll make a big deal out of it. Awesome, you're winning. I'll turn to the other side. And I'll say, what's the matter with you guys? How come you didn't win? We didn't know what was going on. Did you guys know what was going on? No. Well, how did you win? And we get this fun little conversation. And then I stop. And then I say, have you ever been in a class and had to do an assignment and thought you nailed it and got a D on it? And then kids will say yes. And they'll say they've been confused on this and the whole bit. And I say, this is the last time you'll be confused in this classroom. You will always know what's expected of you moving forward. I don't tell them how or why or anything. I just tell them this is going to be a really good place for you. And today's the day I'm going to let you know how that happens. And then we're done with the game. And it is fantastic. I do have an alternative to this game that I came up with. I'll tell you why in a second. But it works like a charm every single time. And then I go to the Desk Olympics. And if you've been with TCI, you probably know what this is. If you've never been with us, I thought this was the dumbest thing on the planet when I first heard it in my first year of teaching when I ran into TCI. And I didn't do it because I thought, well, kids know how to get in groups and kids know how to behave cooperatively and work together. What a ding dong I was. And so I didn't do it until my second year and it changed everything. And so we've got these documents in there. That's fine for you. But I want my students to be able to quickly, efficiently move into pairs, threes, whatever I want, with all the materials out, greet one another in under 90 seconds for a substitute teacher. That's what I want. And I'm going to get it. And here's the training on how I'm going to get it. It's very fast. My first example is threes. They could be in desks and look this way. Obviously, I'm looking down at it. And that one at the top there right here is looking at the board so they can all see everything. If it's on tables, it looks like this on the end of tables. You can, whatever your situation is, you can make a little picture. And then I'm going to give them the rules, number them off. I'm going to have my classes compete against each other, and I'm going to feed the winning class some sort of food substance. They'll do anything for food, just like my dogs. And I'm going to give them some rules. Got to be silent. You can make noise. Don't jump over chairs. Move a desk that's close to you. Whatever rules I need, and we have some directions for you if you want to do something like this. And then I hit go, and I'm playing the Olympics theme music during this, and they go and I'm timing them, and they get there, and when they're all done, then they're finished, and I put their time down, and that's great. Unimpressive prize box is beautiful. And so when they get there, now we're done. So we've moved. Now I'm going to move 3 days in a row a different way. So that's the first one. The next two go even faster. I've got Fraser's rules to live by. I have 10 rules, doesn't matter, no magic to the number. Just don't have 7 pages back to back, single spaced. Don't do that. That's crazy. But I cut these up into strips, put them in envelopes, and each group of 3 gets one. They open them, and they're going to put them in order. I probably should put those down. They're going to put them in order of what is the most likely rule on here to help you be successful and the least. And actually, again, what I really care about maybe is those top 3. But what I really care about is when we hand these out and talk about them or send them home to parents and they're supposed to read them, nobody reads them. Nobody knows about them. You have a parent-teacher conference and you say, do you remember that? They don't even know what I'm talking about. This makes them look at them. I've got 2 things on there that are really weird. One of those little circles for late work, and one of those hall passes there for being able to go use the restroom or get a drink of water or whatever. And so if they need to understand these things starting the next day because the rules are in place. When they're done, we talk about them. I make sure they understand the important things that they may not really understand. And everybody gets a copy that's going to go in their notebook the next day. I review what supplies there are, and we clean up, and we're out the door. That's it. So that game and these rules, I consider a very important day. It's as fun as I've ever been able to make rules or norms. Sometimes I have 2 different preps. And so I invented something called the game, and it's build this. And so I will give them supplies like a pair of scissors, 5 paper clips, a piece of paper, some tape, whatever. It doesn't even matter. And very vague instructions. And what they have to figure out is they've got to build something using all of the materials. That's it. They can pile them all in one place, and that works for me. And they win. I have the same conversation, and I go in and do the same thing. And that's so if I have a kid, one year, they go into the next year, they don't have it all figured out. So that's it. And it's super fun. And the best way I've been able to come up with to do something like this for us. So, and Abby, I know that you got to go to another one in a little bit. Make sure you put that Google Drive link in there again before you get out of here on this one, okay? So I don't know how much you put students in pairs or some semblance of groups, but in a TCI classroom, you do it a lot. And so that training them by I probably take a total of 25 minutes over 3 days to train them how to do the Desk Olympics. I get that 25 minutes back in spades throughout the year. And even for a sub, my subs, every time they're sub for me the first time and I have them get into pairs or something, they're blown away that the kids do it. So how often? I don't know, but I do it a lot. So that's really important to me. So not that the relationships are done being built, but now we're on to these last 2 are going to go very fast because I've got 10 minutes, I think it is. Why do we need to take this class is a question that history and math both get asked a lot. And so I'm going to answer that in day 4 for them. So I'm going to do another Desk Olympics. We're going to set up our interactive student notebook. I'm going to do an icebreaker called the clock, and then we'll start to play with why study history. So Desk Olympics Part 2 for me is groups of 4, same rules. Time it, I do everything the same. And then about half the period, they're going to put together their notebook the way I want to put together. And Abby, just put that in the chat. So don't forget to click on that so that you'll be able to get any document you might want, should you want one. So the Interactive Student Notebook, or ISN, is whatever you want it to be. Perhaps you use some of ours that are already made, but they still have to put their name on it and maybe date it or do whatever you want to do with it. But I make my own because I put a lot of stuff in it, like Fraser's Rules to Live By and some other things that are in there. And so they put it together, they cut, they glue, they tape. We just spend some time playing some cool music, and that's what we do for 15, 20 minutes. When that's done, they go to the first page I want them to go to in that notebook, and they're going to create something called the clock. Lots of versions of this, but this is another time saver for me. Overtime. So the clock is really simple. They draw, sketch a clock in their notebook. Since most of my seventh graders can't tell time, this also becomes a learning experience. It's amazing to me. So really fast, they put their name in the middle, and then they're going to go around and they're going to make 12 partners of 12 different people that are in the class that we'll use throughout the semester. So if Aiden wants to be partners with Harper, you can see that Aiden does. They chose 1 o'clock. Aiden puts Harper's name at 1. Harper puts Aiden's name at 1 o'clock. Anybody absent, I do a clock for them. The math never works out perfectly, but for the most part, this is going to be a deal where they've got 10 to 12 names on their clock. And we make sure at the end, everybody that doesn't have one standing in the middle in the Lonely Hearts Club, and we put it together and we get everybody somebody. Everybody's not going to get their friends all the time, but they have a little bit of control, and I don't have to make pairs every time I want to make pairs. Um, when it's time to use it, and I say it's 1 o'clock, Aiden and Harper will find each other and they'll go connect, and then and they'll sit down and they'll get their stuff ready in the way that I trained them in pairs, and we're ready to go in 90 seconds. Boom. If Drake is absent, Drake's partner would come up with me. Somebody else is absent, I put them together, or I pair Drake with a pair, and we've got a group of 3. Everything's fast, everything's gone, and we are in great shape. And that is the clock. Lots of different ways to do this. I'll share a couple with you. I'll blow past that and I'll share them with you in a second. Why do we study history? I have friends who do an entire class period on this. I tend to have a little bit more fun with it and not spend too much time. If you go on YouTube and you look for Miss South Carolina, that she was asked a question in the Miss America pageant, and just completely epically brutalizes the answer. There's jaywalking and other people that are out there that interview people on the street. And I tell kids, I don't want to be embarrassed when you get interviewed. And that's why they need to study history. Some little thing that's just showing them the class is important is what I want to do. So if you don't like the clock and you want to do something else, you can do Meet Me at the Pole. And I've got that on the drive. I think there's another one. Those are geography based. For math, I do quadrants. There's only 4 there. If I do that, that's a math-based one. Some way that saves you time, gives them a little bit of control. And it's very fair to go up to a kid and say, you don't get to be with this kid. And you probably by this time already know who those kids are. So we don't have a drive, just a slide deck. Deirdre, so when you clicked on that, you didn't get the drive? I'm going to click on it. I might mess something up. I don't know, but I got to see where it goes. Where did it go? It didn't even open for me. Deirdre, I'm going to make sure that is fixed at some point in time. Okay, I apologize for that. Abby, if you're still here, you could try and fix that. And I just went out of my slide presentation. How on earth did that happen? I told you I might mess it up. I don't want that one. Sorry about that. Where was I? I was kind of in the clock. So let's do this, get there and click through that. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Day 5, last one I'm going to do. I'm full on into relevance about my class right now. I'm doing something called the employer wrap, my final desk Olympics and the commitment. This is fast, furious, and really good. 5 qualities. I want them to do this in their notebook. I want them to list 5 qualities they think employers might want in their employees. And yes, for some kids, I have to define that. And they will just list 5 things. I usually give them an example. My example is usually, lots of kids will say to be smart. And I would then say, well, what's another way to say that? And I've got intelligence is another way to say that. And they will go and write their 5, and then I will take those answers from them. I'm going to try my Google Drive again here. And maybe it was my mess up. So forgive me for this. Control copy. So here we go. Give me this in the chat right here. So I'll get like 30 to 35 of these things on here. Let's try this. If you tried that before, the heck with the slide deck. I think I did it wrong. And so I get this giant list up there. Then I do Desk Olympics Part 3. And Part 3 is pairs, which is the easiest, fastest one. They're good at it by now. It doesn't take any time at all. And then I'm going to start a discussion on what they chose and why. So as a group, they're going to talk through their 5. Then we're going to try to choose the five as a class, what the five most important ones are. I don't need a long conversation for this because I'm going to get to the right answers because there are right answers for this. From Johns Hopkins, I think is where this one came from. Forgive me for not knowing that for sure. These are the top four things that employers say they want in the people they hire. Number four is a strong work ethic. Number three is interpersonal skills. Number two is honesty and integrity. Might be number one for me, but number one for them is communication skills. Can you have that face-to-face conversation? Can you articulate a topic sentence in what it is that you're going to cover, etc.? Then I ask this really important question to kids. What class do you have in this? Do you have a communication skill class, an honesty class, an interpersonal class? And the answer is they really don't. They might have a teacher who harps on something like showing up on time or whatever, I don't know. But we don't really have a dedicated class to these things. And so now I get to do a sales pitch and let them know these are really important to me. These go up in my room now after the fact and let them know that these are the things that I'm going to work on. Not that what you're going to learn in history is not important, but these are going to help you get a job and keep a job. And I share with them the number one reason people don't get a job is the handshake. It's been decided on the handshake. That's why I taught them to shake hands and why that's important. And on we go. And this is a super important thing for them. And I want to know them to know that my class is important, even if history is not your thing. And I'm going to try and make it your thing, but we're going to go over these. So that's huge for me. And that's the end of my 5-day sales pitch. And now they need to make a commitment. And here's the commitment. You maybe have seen The Matrix. If not, go watch it. It's a great movie. You still got time left in the summer. In there's a scene, and I actually show them this 2-minute clip of when Neo's being spoken to about taking the red pill or the green pill or the blue pill. And I actually forget which one he takes. Is supposed to take? Doesn't matter. I watch the clip and I remember again. And I play the clip all the way until he picks one. And then I tell the kids, pause it. I have done my best sales pitch for you. I want you to be in this class. You are going to take, and I have M&Ms, 2 bowls of them. On the way out, you're going to take an M&M, take the color you want. If you take I think it's the blue, and if you take the blue one, you're in the class, and the expectation is you're going to do everything I want you to do. You're going to work on these 4 things, and you are going to try all the weird things I want you to do, knowing that I believe that's what's best for you. If you take the other pill, we're going to sit down and have a conversation, and I'm going to do everything I can do to remove you from my class. I don't have the power to really do that, but I've only had one kid in 12 years take that pill, and I did get him taken out of class. He flunked the other class too. So I think it's important for a kid to have to make a commitment in some way, shape, or form. I need it to be their class and not my class. And then I tell them, have a great weekend. I stand at the door and they move out and they take the M&M. I don't even care if they eat it. I just want them to be aware of what the expectations are in this class. And it's fun and it's awesome that they make those commitments. There's other ways to make commitments. You can sign a contract. You can, if the kids are younger, you can have them draw a picture about committing something. As long as they give their word, that's the big key. And once I've got that, I can go back to the fact they gave me their word anytime I need to when they're testing me in week 3 or whatever. Relationships, relevance, rigor. That's the deal. You want other ideas for building a cooperative, tolerant classroom? Snap this QR code. We have a toolkit for that. I'm not going to stay on this slide long, so get it because I've got to get you to your next place. I think I'm ending right on time. And so I had a picture of my granddaughter and it won't let me show it. So this is my email. Should you want anything? Should you just even want to collaborate? Because I absolutely love that. My classroom is high energy as well, as you can understand, and this is one of the ways I help build a high energy classroom. But anything you want, or if you even have a really great idea and you want to share that with me. So you clicked on my new Drive link and you don't see a Google Drive deal? What is going on? Email. Now I have to sign into my Google Drive. I can't do that. Okay, I'm going to try and do this in just a second, but I'm going to finish this fast if I can. So if just in case you don't know how to get where you're going, here's the deal. Share your fun moment somewhere if you would like. Facebook, Instagram, etc. $50 gift card, 50 winners. If you're not dual certified, it's $2,500 we're giving away. The way to do that is to share about those things. And we want to help you every single step of the way.